It's refreshment time, folks.
I have to return some videotapes.
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Do you like scary movies, Sydney?
You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. Don't need a TV.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.
Over 1,600 titles, each for rent at just $2 the first night, and only...
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Tonight on 6 Ed World.
Okay, I want channels 18, 24, 63, 109, 87, and the Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Frog Brothers Podcast with your hosts, Justin and Alec.
Hello,
Hit the record button.
To episode 21 of the Frog Brothers Podcast. What's happening, Alec?
What's happening, Captain? Captain of the happening.
What happened to the captain?
Not much.
It's morphin' time, bitches.
Oh, you know. Pretty much. I, just a little bit ago built and opened the, new Hasbro Power Rangers Megazord and Dinozord toys. So that was pretty slick.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I like that set. I like how they kind of have it separated out, too. That way, you're not having to spend, like, a huge amount all at once, right? If you couldn't afford it, you know, $15 a pop a couple different times isn't terrible compared to being like, yeah, it's $50 and then may or may not be able to do anything with it, so.
Yeah, and, it's only 3 packages, but you get the whole Zord out of that, the whole Megazord. So, one package came with, you know, the saber-toothed tiger and triceratops. One package came with the mastodon and the pterodactyl, and the other one came with the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
So the legs, the chest, and the arms, and the body.
Pretty much.
That's pretty slick, man. I think that's a pretty awesome piece.
It actually, the way it comes together, too, looks like when you're snapping it together, like in my head, all I could think about was the sequence from the cartoon show when it's building, you know, when they're like, all right, let's form the Megazord, and then it fucking does its thing.
Yeah, that was one.
The toys actually like fold in that way and shit.
Yeah, that's how
and they snap on.
That's how the old Bandai kit used to work too, which I thought was always really cool that they were very faithful with how, you know, they actually made it transform like that. In that same kind of sense, you know, it looked the same way. So when you did it, it felt like you're actually reliving the sequence out, like when you're playing. So I gotta tell you though, I'm really fucking looking forward to the Dragon Zord. I'm like, ooh yeah, put the Dragon Zord out.
Hell yeah.
Green Ranger is always my favorite.
Yeah, same. I mean, who was not that?
Yeah.
Until he became the White Ranger, then he was kind of towely, but hey.
Yeah, the White Ranger was a lot more skeet towely and a little bit more controversial, but
You're a towel.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
You want to get high? Speaking of, you know, want to get high?
Yeah.
I'm going to do that right now.
I'm going to crack open a crisp, cool, delicious RC Cola, which is the cola provided to you by the Dr. Pepper 7-Up Company.
Dr. Pepper is what I'm drinking right now. So I think we need a sponsorship here. RC Cola doesn't have like any sponsors these days. We could bring that shit back.
RC Cola is delicious. It's similar to Coke, but it's not nearly as sweet on the tongue as Pepsi is. So that's kind of what I've been into lately, man. For just a good clean cola, RC Cola.
I need to add like a fucking RC Cola ad in here somewhere.
A certain American institution allows their people only Coke and Pepsi, which means they're sentenced to a life of Coke and Pepsi. But there'll always be some people who'll go out of their way for the taste of RC Cola. A taste that's unrestrained, Yes, some people will go out of their way for the taste of RC. But sometimes they go too far.
For a good, clean
Exactly.
soda, RC Cola. So...
For a relaxing times, make it Centauri times.
It's epic.
Little lost in translation for you.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Murray. That's all I kept thinking when you said that.
Little Bill Murray for you. Bill Murray. Hey, so some people are getting their Spangler wands in the mail already. I'm not sure what company that did those pre-orders was already shipping them.
Oh, shit.
You might have to mute some.
I don't have that ordered yet.
Fucking need to quit screwing around and get it.
Clearly. I've been buying Power Rangers toys. I could have spent that $45 on a Spangler wand.
Could have. Instant
But
gratification.
this way I'll have a Spangler wand and a Megazord.
Yeah, that's probably true. And you're a pretty big Power
Pretty
Rangers
much.
nut, so I mean, I can't blame you for that. Hey, you need to see if you got our old Power Rangers videotapes, VHS tapes lying around the house somewhere. I'm sure the slipcovers are long gone.
I gotta look and see if there's another pile of VHS somewhere.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Because if there is, there should be a... There's going to be all sorts of little gold mines in there. Little gold nuggets. I did buy a few movies these last couple days. I finally picked up Gremlins and Gremlins 2 on Blu-ray because Walmart has a pack for like $7.
Oh, no shit. I need to go get that then.
Because I'm like, well, I do have the VHS tapes and the DVDs, and I've had those DVDs for forever. Like the Gremlins 2 DVD I have is the old 90s click style case or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And, but I picked those up as well as they have a Chucky collection that's all 7 Chucky movies, which for a while, they had like a Chucky collection out, but it didn't have the newest one, and I didn't think it'd have the first one either. You had to buy that separate.
I feel you.
And I already had the first 3 on DVD, but I was like, I want the rest of these, and I like the collection of the box. I like Child's Play movies a lot, so I picked that up, and then I watched Bride of Chucky the other night, because that rules. I also bought Kong Skull Island.
Oh, man.
Because it was like $7 for the Blu-ray, so I was like, hell
We're
yeah.
on a roll there.
And yeah, actually, it gets even crazier because I was at Target today and I found these Power Ranger toys, but I was also browsing in the movie section and I found, they had a Mission Impossible Blu-ray set for all 5 of those movies for $20.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And I don't know how many of those have you seen because they kind of, it's like there's a valley. Like the first one's fucking epic, right? And then the second one's like, this is pretty good. Philip Seymour Hoffman's excellent in that one. He makes that. He's terrifying. But then they kind of got shitty for a movie or two. And the new ones are actually fucking really pretty good. And the same guy who directed the newest one, the last couple ones, I think, actually, is the guy who directs Top Gun Maverick. So, if you want to know what to expect from that, you should watch some of these. If you haven't seen all these or what, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, no, I've seen all those. So I have the original on VHS because I love that when it came out originally, so I got a VHS copy of that. The second one I have on DVD. Third one I never purchased, or anything after those first 2 I haven't purchased, but I've seen them all. Not necessarily in the theater. I'm pretty sure I saw the third one in theaters. The fourth and the fifth ones I've watched on demand, and they're definitely fun.
Yeah, those new ones definitely have the same vibes as like the new Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, they're
like the kind of modern spy flicks.
Yeah, and in some regards are like almost better than some of the newer James Bond stuff.
I mean, they're more entertaining. Some of the new James Bond tries to be too serious.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's whatever, but they're not too rewatchable for me. I haven't gone back and wanted to ever watch a Daniel Craig James Bond movie, any of them. I just don't care for them. And then, I see what they are, and they're good for what they are, but I've never been like, I need to go watch those.
Yeah.
But I'll go watch GoldenEye.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, they're well made, but yeah, to me, it's like going back and watching some of the older stuff. But I guess that's the way James Bond has always been. Like, some of the movies are pretty good, and some of them are just like, that's okay.
Exactly. I mean, that's to be expected when you made that many movies.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all going to be amazing, and so that's kind of still my thing. Like, I would say now, like, the visuals and stuff are amazing. The cinematography and the effects are excellent, but to me, the story is just not as like, oh, James Bond doesn't feel quite as relevant to me as he used to. Especially with like other series like the Kingsman and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, you got some competitive stuff there for that like line of entertainment. So it's not quite as top tier as I guess you would say it would have been in the 90s or even 80s, right? You know, in its heyday where you're like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think now you're just like, whatever.
I'm not even a big, you know, like, as far as spy movies go, the only reason I watch those Fast and the Furious movies is because I watched those first couple as a kid, and so I think they're interesting, but I acknowledge them in a bad way. They're clearly B movies, and they're weird, but they're entertaining. They're just fun to watch, and just kind of like not take too seriously. It's like, I don't want any merchandise from it. I have the first two on VHS just because that's hilarious, and they were on VHS, so. But as far as spy movies go, it's like, I'm not a big fan of many of them at all. Some James Bond I like, and, you know, I might end up getting some of those on VHS. But I have GoldenEye on VHS, and I'm pretty content with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the... And that's just because our coming of age, right? Like, that was, to me, that was the James Bond movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that the game was, like, next level, and you got to replay that, like... Those two things go hand in hand together to make really quite something that's very nostalgic, but also something that still holds up. Like, when I watch that movie, I still love it. It's great. And then even playing the game, like the way it integrated things from the movie so well, it was like, oh, hell yeah. And, like, that kind of set the bar for what a movie game could be. And then there's very few games that are based on a movie
what I remember about the movie
that actually hold up like that.
Yeah. Half of what I remember about the movie is stuff I really remember from the game, because I played the game way more than I watched the movie. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I like how that's obviously one of the best video games ever made. So.
Oh, for sure, man. I can't tell you how many hours I logged playing multiplayer game on that, and that's when you'd be just like looking at the other player's screen. Everyone's like, don't look at my screen. You're like, dude, it's split screen into 4. Like, what the hell do you expect? Like, if I'm looking at the TV, I'm naturally going to see where the hell you are.
Right. I'm looking at the screen, Ray.
Yeah, and half the battle of that, though, was just going in there like, who's going to kill who? Like, the motherfucker camping out or the person that's coming to get you? Right?
I liked it when you could get 4 people on one TV. If it was like a big screen TV, that was always fun.
Oh, yeah, that was
the more the merrier.
Fucking glorious. That was really something else right there. Like,
you want to hear the most... This reminds me of the most ridiculous story I'll ever tell on this podcast, possibly. Well, that's probably not true, because I've done a lot of ridiculous shit, but one time I was playing GoldenEye. This is when you and me lived in the basement in Olathe. Okay. This is way back when. And I was playing with Mom. I don't think you were home. I wanted somebody to play with me, and I ended up making her play because she was terrible, so I could beat her. And I ended up just being able to, like, walk up and karate chop her to death.
Oh, my God.
And I laughed so hard. I was probably, 6, 7, maybe. But I laughed so hard from killing her to death with the karate chop that I crapped my pants.
Oh, my God.
I could not control it.
That's amazing.
It was the only time I ever did that, like, past, like, being able to remember it at all in my entire life. But I can just remember the feeling of a turd sliding into my pants, and it was just like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is awful. Somebody stop it.
Oh, my God. That's so over the top. And you're probably holding it because you're having so much fun playing the game. You're like, yeah, I'll wait and go later.
Exactly. But you're a kid and you don't know better. You're not fully in control yet.
Oh my God, that's pretty amazing. Were you that old though when that was out? I don't think you'd.
Well, that came out in what? I'm not saying when it came out. Like, we played that for probably at least a year or two for a while.
That game got played for years.
But I don't know how old I was. I was anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8 at most, but
I'd be guessing you were on the lower end of the, probably 4 or 5 is what I'd guess, but
Probably if I shit my pants.
And he shit his pants. He's always fucking shitting his pants, and I'll never talk to you again.
Unless your dad'll suck my cock.
Ejaculate into a sock.
So
happy holidays, you
check out
bastard.
You check out this Batman trailer? The Batman.
The Batman. Hey, you know what I liked about the trailer? Amongst lots of things I liked about it?
Who are you?
There's no, like, growly voice. He's just like, I'm vengeance. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Motherfucker's just talking. He doesn't got to sound all raspy like he's a chain smoker. He just like, yeah.
All right. This is very interesting you say that, because last night I was watching the original Batman on VHS in bed. And I was noticing, as soon as Michael Keaton is like, I want you to tell your friends about me, how his voice is just so ever so slightly done. And the fact that he is really just a great with his voice. Look at Beetlejuice, you know? That does not sound like him, but it's creepy. He's a master manipulator of his voice, so the way he does Batman still doesn't sound like Bruce Wayne, but it doesn't sound stupid. It just sounds a little different. It sounds a little darker, a little gravelier, which I think Robert Pattinson's doing the same thing. So
yeah, and I appreciated that. Not that I didn't like, the Dark Knight trilogy, like how that was portrayed, but
every film has something you can critique about it.
Sure, absolutely.
Except Ghostbusters.
So I guess one of my favorite things is, everyone's like, oh, all the backlash about people talking shit on Pattinson. And I'm like, whatever, man. Like, and one of the greatest things I saw about that was somebody brought up an article basically shit-talking Michael Keaton for basically all the same types of reasons people were shit-talking Pattinson when he was originally cast.
He had just been in Mr. Mom and shit.
Yeah, so them shit-talking him is bad. Like, how is he going to be Batman? You're like, dude, Batman doesn't have to be some fucking ripped jock. Like, obviously he needs to be athletic, but, you don't have to be so bulked up that you're like a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're supposed to be fighting.
So, I guess that's supposed to be the Riddler in the trailer, or the voiceover at the end, I think, is supposed to be the Riddler. I can't tell what's happening for sure there, though.
Yeah, and that's quite a different take on it. I mean, this feels, again, like it's a little bit more grounded in reality, along with the Nolan universe to some degree, but some of the highlights to me, like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, like that had a lot of appeal to it. Like, I liked how her costume starts off kind of basic. You can kind of tell there's going to be some evolution with the characters in there, at least for her. Yeah.
I like the idea of, Catwoman, the Riddler, and the Penguin. That's a good little mix of some characters to have in there. I really like Paul Dano, so I'm excited to see what he does with the Riddler. I think that's going to be the breakout performance of this movie.
And, you kind of see that as the primary villain, so, which is nice because a lot of these Batman movies, like lately, and I say lately, because the Nolan universe kind of didn't go over the top with some of the villains. So I'm just excited to see a fresh take on some of these villains that are so iconic that we just haven't really seen evolve much, right? So, like, this Riddler is going to be so far removed from Jim Carrey's The Riddler. I think it's going to be nice just to have a different take on it. And I think it'll be fun for that reason.
Well, yeah, it's just like it's the equivalent of how Bane was so far removed from the other version of Bane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you think about it, in Batman Forever, which has its place in my heart, still, the Riddler and Two-Face are both pretending to be the Joker in that movie. Both of them.
Yes. Yeah, they are.
It's basically what that movie is. So, I mean, there's moments in it that, I still love, and I love that movie still. But it's not perfect by any means. That's part of why I love it. So,
yeah, I'm just excited.
But I think this one has hope. I think the general consensus is that people are fucking excited for this movie. So
I think so, right? And I get universe building, like the MCU's done it so well, but at the same time, with somebody like Batman or something like that, you don't have to try to build in all that other stuff. You can just do some of those takes, right?
Yeah, well, DC's also doing this thing with, their little Flash movie they're doing. They might be able to save their universe a little more if they continue on doing that. And they do it well, because they're supposed to have Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck both as Batman in that movie.
Yes, and there's still talk about, what's his name that played Batman's dad, and there's like still rumors that he would still reprise his role as being Batman, and Bruce having died, not the Waynes. In the other part of Flashpoint,
that version,
so which is important.
Yeah, that's
so
sick.
I'm just excited.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
Yes.
that version.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I meant. I was drawing a blank on his name for a minute.
I just didn't know if that's the Bruce Wayne you meant, because I thought that's the one they were talking about for it. He's the one who did it in the Snyderverse, basically.
Yeah, and I'm just excited to see this, that, there's still things going on in these universes, right? Just to even have Michael Keaton back as Batman.
I'm
even
excited.
If it's just for a clip or a brief thing saying, hey, here's where he's at with it. It's almost like taking that concept of Spider-Verse and having multiple realities there and saying, oh, okay, yeah, this can work.
Exactly. I think people are going to take that movie's going to be that's going to be the big trend now, is the multiverse in movies, so you can connect a bunch of shit that doesn't connect it, and you can connect it now without having to question it at all. Like, Freddy versus Jason, you had to make that fit before to be a movie. Well, with this thing, they wouldn't have had to do that. They would, but it would be nowhere near as difficult because they'd just be like, multiverse.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is those comics have always done
I don't
that.
think it's, I'm not, exactly, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's what could save the DC movies, actually, because they will, I think Ben Affleck's going to be in that movie or whatever. He's not going to be, I still don't think he's going to be much in the DC EU or whatever. Going forward, much more than that.
I think this could be his kind of
but I think they will.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so I think they might do more Justice League or something, but it might be with this other Batman from Rob Pattinson.
Yeah, and they could, and
if it's a multiverse, then they could do anything with. They could even, I'm not saying they should, but they could even bring in Joaquin Phoenix Joker. They could do anything, It's unlimited what they could do. Just we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think.
But I'm excited to be excited about Batman again.
Yeah, that's true. I feel that.
Because I saw Batman versus Superman, and I was like, well, anytime Batman's on the screen doing shit, I'm like, this is pretty good. And Ben Affleck, he was okay as Batman. His performance, writing and directing, and even some of the design I didn't like of that movie, but it still had some shit to it that was awesome. But not much.
Yeah, so
I've watched that movie twice. So
some of my favorite stuff about his role, though, is just like how he did a little different. And I did like how they had a little bit more of the tech Batman stuff that some of the other movies haven't quite gone with, right? Because there's a lot of that in the comics, so it's not always been represented on the movie screen. So I kind of enjoyed that variety there.
And I tried watching Justice League too, but I just couldn't get into it because things were. It didn't do what Avengers did for me at all. It just didn't capture anything for me. So I have no opinion on that movie. So
you know what? When you're talking DCU or EU right now, their extended universe, my favorite movie that I've seen just from a sheer entertainment standpoint was Shazam.
I haven't even watched that because I don't know, maybe the reviews I read and what I heard about it made it kind of feel like not my type of movie.
It's worth a watch, right? I mean, it's not trying to be so dark and sinister and depressing as some of the other ones, so it's kind of got some hope to it, right? And I think that's what Marvel does well that DC's kind of lacking right now. DC's been trying to be a little too dark, and then with Aquaman, they try to make it a little jokey, and it was just like, okay. But, their version of Aquaman right now is nothing like any of the comics versions of Aquaman had been previously, so it's that's also an interesting piece. So.
Yeah, another noteworthy thing from this trailer is I like that Bruce Wayne is wearing eye makeup when he wears the Batman outfit, so there's scenes where he's, not wearing his mask and he has the eye makeup there, and I'm like, it actually makes sense.
You can actually...
Just like Kick-Ass, he did that. Big Daddy, Nicolas Cage. And sometimes you see that in media here and there, but I just like seeing that because it's like, it's a little taste of realism. Because there's a scene in Batman Returns, I don't know if you know the one, where Batman rips his fucking rubber-ass mask off
end with Catwoman,
at the end of the movie. And it cuts from him wearing eye makeup, and then it cuts to Penguin or whatever, or some shit. And then it cuts back to him, and he rips the fucking, like, mask off. Before he rips it off, though, he's not wearing the makeup underneath it.
Yeah, and that's interesting there, right? I do appreciate that they're having that on there, right? You're going to take off the cowl. Yeah, like, let's see what's underneath it and kind of make that accurate. So...
Well, it's still, it just helps portray a little bit of darkness there with Bruce, I think, so...
Yeah, I mean, because...
We'll see. I think he looks pretty brutal, so...
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to be a very troubled and young Bruce, just like we kind of saw in Batman Begins. How he's struggling with what he needs to fucking do and whether or not to actually kill people and shit like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much more entertaining than that, right? I mean, with Batman Begins...
I think it's very character-driven looks.
I mean, Batman Begins was character-driven as well, but they did so much kind of slow pacing there with, like... the evolution of that, which I appreciated because we'd never seen any of that before, right? It was like, oh, here we are. But I think hopefully this will be a little bit faster because it's kind of like with Spider-Man. Like, I don't need the origin story every time. Like, just fucking get me into the action. I know how we got where we are. I just need to know like where we're at with this person, not how we got there.
Exactly. I can say definitely if I see Bruce Wayne and his parents in that scene recreated in this movie, I'll lose my shit. I'll get pissed. Momentarily,
absolutely.
At least.
I mean, that was...
Because I remember even in the theater sitting getting pissed when I saw it in Batman vs. Superman. I was like, really? We're going to do this again?
I mean, that was a huge piece of why Spider-Man Homecoming worked so well is because they didn't have to replay that story for us. We already knew it. They didn't force it.
They implied that it happened like 6 months ago to a year ago is what I think.
Yeah, and that's fine.
You know? So it happened recently, but we all know what happened.
And if you want to reference it, that's fine. You can talk about it, but I don't need a flashback scene and people cast and video. You know, like cut and paste any of 800 versions of that we've seen before and put it in there, right? Whatever. So,
pretty much.
So there's Batman stuff there, and I realized how much Batman I have, right? When I'm looking at my movies anywhere in my Voodoo stuff, since we recently got Batman the Animated Series, and started going into that. You know, I think I got 5 or 6 episodes in one night. But between that and then the animated movies and everything else, I think I have like 10 or 11 Batman movies, including animated stuff. And it's just like, man, I got a lot there. You know, like that's up there with MCU stuff, and there's like a boatload of those. So it's like I don't think I'm missing a lot of the larger Batman releases at all. I don't think I'm missing anything. So
yeah, pretty sick. We should probably move on since we got a heavy segment.
We got a jam-packed episode. So we're going to talk about a new movie release. So Front Row Video releases. Recently finally picked up King of Staten Island since it became available for purchase instead of just on demand. So decided to go ahead and pick that up. So Alec and I watched that, and here we go.
Front Row Video Reviews with the Frog Brothers Podcast.
So, King of Staten Island. So, I watched this like a week and a half ago, and then I rewatched most of it today. So, what's your overall reaction?
It was pretty good. Pretty good.
I would definitely agree.
I want to say the same thing initially that I said to you earlier, which was basically that I think it suffers from a little bit of that Judd Apatowism disease, where it is slightly too long. There's some stuff that should have been cut out of there, maybe. I still liked it though. I was really attached when I was first watching it. I was feeling personally attacked.
Weren't you though? Like, there's some real relatable shit in there. Like, if you've ever struggled with any kind of like mental illness or depression or anything like that, or just like a fucking rough time in life, there's some very relatable shit in this movie. But the thing that I like about it is they're talking about it in the open, and he's very forward with talking about it, and he knows how it's affected him, but he may not know how to get through it, right? Which, that goes a long way. So if you can relate to that, like, right, know that you can get through it, because awareness is the first step, right? If you know something's fucked up, then at least you're aware of that, and then you have an option to go where to go from there.
Yeah. No, Pete Davidson's okay, you know. I like him on SNL. I think that's all I've really seen him do, except a few bit roles here and there, maybe. But he's he's good in this, and he makes it so you can easily believe what his character is going through. From, you know, just the opening shot, even where he's just driving and he has kind of just like a fucked up look on his face.
Yeah, hits a car, then keeps going.
Kind of like,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah. But I could kind of tell I was going to at some point feel a little bit annoyed with the movie, because I know how Judd Apatow writes movies, which is with, I'll give you an example, the ending of 40-Year-Old Virgin, where eventually, I mean, it's just, I guess you'd call it a plot. But the plot develops and changes, and the end of 40-Year-Old Virgin, you know, he ends up getting together with that woman and shit, and everything comes together after they broke up. It's like you could almost predict the big plot points in that movie and then just fill it in with jokes. Not to say that that's what Judd Apatow does or anything, or that, I don't know, I'm not trying to chalk shit on the movie because it's a funny movie, whatever. I'm just saying he writes, I feel like, in a little bit of an old school fashion. So I could tell there was going to be like, oh, some learning moments and development and shit, which, that's fine. I'm not opposed to that. Especially in this kind of a movie. It's a drama and a comedy. Really more of a drama with comedy in it. And some of the comedy's not in your face about being comedy. It's probably only funny to certain people. And I don't mean that it's subjective. I mean that it'll be funny if you get it, if you've been around people who deal with mental illness, or you yourself have.
Yeah, I agree with that, right? So, yeah, Pete Davidson, I think, really carries the movie all the way through, right? He's consistent with his character, like his acting's, he does a good job for the role he has. And I appreciated that a lot. Bill Burr was interesting, right? He had a role on The Mandalorian that I kind of liked his character on. He's, somebody that I'm like, he's not somebody I go out of my way for necessarily, but in this movie I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
I thought he was a good counterbalance to Pete Davidson. So, and Marissa Tomei, she was good as well. I mean, she was, I think she did a good job. Like, just, there's a few scenes in there where she's like, after her daughter goes to college and she's talking to Scott, and she's like, hey, Scott, I'm thinking about watching Game of Thrones. And, like, you can kind of see, like, the energy she has there, where she's really just struggling to figure out what she wants to do, and, like, her nervous energy you can, like, feel, which I appreciated, so I thought she did a good job in that role. And then she was kind of out of the movie for a little bit, which is one of the things that I wasn't a huge fan of, right? They kind of show her, they do such a good job developing her as a character, but then they take her out of there for quite a while, and I think that's where some of the pacing issues and timing stuff goes, because, I mean, this is like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something, I think closer to 220 or whatever with credits and everything else, but Pete Davidson, just really carries the flick just by being himself and being consistent. And some of the learning stories, as he's having like those life moments. I guess my favorite thing about this movie was that they didn't go the typical Apatow and like make it like a really big change. Like he's for the most part, the same person who he is. He's a little more self-aware at the end. And his big thing is just at the very end, he finally realizes he loves Kelsey, right? So you're just like, oh, okay. So, like, that makes sense. And, like, that wasn't overly drawn out. And, you know, that was something I enjoyed about the ending of that movie.
I think they could have, if that's the route they were going to go with the ending, I just think they could have cut out a little bit more of him at the firehouse. Because once he got to the firehouse, I was having issues. And I could tell, I was like, at the beginning of the movie, I thought, you know, maybe this girl's going to be in the movie more. That girl was barely in the fucking movie. And until he slept with her again randomly when he was homeless, I was like, didn't think she was going to even be in there again, you know?
Yeah.
So, the fact that...
So, like, looking at this for me, and again, it's just because we're in a streaming culture now, so, like, movies really have to have their shit together to really get to the fucking point. But, you know, for a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes, imagine if you just made it 4 one-hour episodes. Episode 1 is getting to know the characters. Episode 2 is the guy dating the mom. Episode 3 is the firehouse. And Episode 4 is like to kind of come back together and bring it all together, right? So you're learning from that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, to that point, like the firehouse sequences seemed really long and excessive compared to the rest of the movie. Like when I was watching, I was like, oh man, it seems like we got such a long way to go to get to the ending. And even some of his friends that were kind of coming in and out of there, like with the jail piece, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's what I mean with the tonal issues, because it kind of felt like, oh, is this going to go all of a sudden, like, Boys in the Hood on me?
Yeah, like, how dark is this going to get
like,
with some of that? Like, yeah, are they all going to die? Or
that guy
what?
got fucking shot, you know?
Yeah, and it
was like, shit, what's happening?
I didn't quite know what to do with some of those things, right? And then you would think you would get more character development out of the repercussions of that than you would have just him hanging out at the firehouse. So I liked the movie a lot. I'd enjoyed it, and I'll watch it, I'll watch it again and stuff, but there's just overall things, like if I stop and take notes and I stop and really think about it, there's definitely opportunities there. And again, like if you would have asked me this 20 years ago or 10 years ago even, really before like streaming series hit the stride they have done with not trying to do like, hey, we don't need a 30 episode season anymore. We can do 10 episodes of really good storytelling and really plan it out. And we're kind of at that point where movies are like right on the edge of that, right? Like I said, movies really need to be on their fucking A game to have the content.
Everybody keeps saying it. They're about to become event things, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're going to be big franchises and bumpers to franchises.
Yeah, and
they're going to be like, yeah, you're going to get Jurassic World movies still. You'll get, Fantastic Beasts, shit like that, the Marvel movies. But you're also getting those Marvel series now. Marvel's already on to what you're talking about. They're fucking on to you. That's why they're doing those TV series the way they are, and they're limited series. They're not going to be doing 5 seasons of the shit. They're going to be doing a limited series of it instead of a movie to connect it to other shit they're doing.
Yeah, and to me that makes sense with where we're at with it, right? I personally absolutely love going to the fucking movies. It's one of my favorite things to do. I was brought up doing it. I'll do it as long as theaters are around. Hands down, right?
For sure.
I just love the theater going experience. But that being said, like, you have to have a good draw for me for a theater, right? And then something like this, like I think this is it's a good movie, right? But it could have been great had they been able to do some more story development on there as a limited series. I mean, you're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. If you look at the shit they probably had to edit out of this movie, it was probably closer to 3 hours easily on the original edit, right? Not uncommon to trim that much from a movie when you're just you throw everything together you've shot sequentially, figure out what works and what doesn't, and what carries the story and what doesn't, and what's your pacing issues. So imagine what they cut out of this that probably had good development,
right,
but just change the pacing or change the tone, which that's the thing with a limited series. You can have every episode be a different tone if you have good actors that are able to carry the story along. So I don't know. I just see the potential that this could be great just instead of good.
Yeah. It was decent.
Yeah, like I said, I'd watch it again. As far as in Judd Apatow movies, though, I don't know if I'd say I have a favorite, but when you look at it...
Out of his directed or produced? I mean, that's a different thing,
I mean,
too.
I would say directed, right? I mean, he's produced a lot of stuff, right? He's kind of got his hands in
I would
everything.
say, as far as rewatchability, 40-Year-Old Virgin is his best, clearly. I would say Knocked Up has a lot of great moments to it as well. However, there is some arguably problematic shit with the women and the pregnancy and shit in there that's kind of just like, I don't know what's happening here. And that's a movie that suffers, again, in the later half of the movie when all of a sudden Seth Rogen has to get serious and win the girl back after he's pissed her off, predictably.
Yeah, I could see that. And
Funny People is great, again, for the first 2 hours, and then the last hour or whatever, because that one's fucking like 2 hours and 40 minutes or 2.5 or some shit, but it has its moments. It's really good. This Is 40 is decent. It's all right. It's whatever. I'm not 40, so I don't relate.
Yeah, I mean, see, for me, like, the first time I saw that, I could kind of relate to it, and then now that I've got kids, it's more relatable, but, it's kind of one of those things. It's good, but it's not necessarily, the best thing in the world, so.
Yeah.
And, Trainwreck, I can't say I was necessarily a huge fan of either, right? And you're just like, whatever. Like, that's that Amy Schumer movie, right? So, I mean, even though you have Bill Hader in it, like, and a good cast in that, like, that one just...
But then he produced stuff like Superbad, and Pineapple Express, and those are excellent.
Yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, the cable guy, right? He's been...
Yeah.
He's got the chops. He knows what's funny. Like, I'll give him credit for that.
Heavyweights.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of the execution sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's the
that's
King of Staten Island. So let us know what you guys think of it if you've watched it. You know where to find us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You could find Alec on OnlyFans.com if you want to DM him directly.
Yeah. You can tip me on my live show to see the Transformer transform into my butthole.
And if you want, Alec will give you his Amazon wish list if you can't afford to tip or you don't want that on your credit card statement.
Yeah. It's filled with both kinds of toys.
Wait, there's more than one kind of toy?
There it is.
I thought all toys were for fun.
No, see, I mean... The joke is he means sex toys and then plastic toys that children play with.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
You want to do our top 5?
Fuck it, let's do it.
Top 5. 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 Top 5.
This is top 5. This is top 5.
Theme. So top 5 this week is a topic we've talked about since the inception of our podcast, but it's getting towards that Halloween season, so we figured we'd just go ahead and throw some... We're starting to get a little spooky up in the Frog Brothers podcast here, and we're going to go with top 5 zombie movies.
Top 5?
Which is...
not Rob Zombie movies.
It's a loaded top 5.
Movies.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't give you a top 5 Rob Zombie movies because I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Some people really like him, and I'm just like, eh.
But anyway.
All right, so number 5. What is your number 5?
I like him when I'm playing Twisted Metal 3 on PlayStation. Hey. Number 5. We're going to go with your number 5.
You want to hear my number 5 first?
Yeah, I don't need to hear that number 5, motherfucker. Give me that number 5.
Shaun of the Dead.
Fries and a Coke.
Shaun Shaun of the Dead. It's a fucking classic, man.
You got red on you.
It's funny. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's amazing, right? I love some of the funnier movies, too, right? You can't just have everything be so serious all the time. Because there's definitely a few moments in there you're like, oh, that's a little spooky, right? You still get the major zombie vibes from it, but you're like, oh, okay, I can laugh in a zombie movie. Definitely appreciate that, you know? What's yours?
Yep. Number 5 for me is 2007, directed by Robert Rodriguez, part of the Grindhouse double feature, Planet Terror.
Ooh, I like.
It's a little different than some other zombie movies, but it's pretty much, I don't know, it's not a parody. It's more of an homage to really gory, fucked up Grindhouse movies, but also zombie movies and just sci-fi and weird shit in general. So, I don't know, it's a dope movie. If you've never seen it, watch it.
Yeah, I love that movie, but I didn't have it on my list. Mostly because it pays tribute to so many other movies in there that it was like hard to be like, hey, this movie that pays tribute to all these other was like on my list. But I do like to watch that one every Halloween season, so high fives.
It's just, when you're watching it too, it's like some of the effects don't quite look like regular zombie movies, you know? They're way over the top, and I like the shit like fucking Josh Brolin in there, Bruce Willis, oh, who's gonna say it? Rose McGowan, obviously, and Michael Biehn is my favorite in that.
Oh, it's a damn good movie. So, especially the fact that it's part of a double feature too. You're like, hell yeah! Like that's, I think that's one that a lot of people wouldn't like take out and necessarily put to the top on their list just because they may not be thinking of that in terms of a zombie movie, but it's a fucking zombie movie.
I mean, I had to be honest. In terms of zombie movies, like if I'm about to pick out 5 zombie movies to watch at any point, like if I could only take 5 with me, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Is this list, so.
Like, there's a lot of honorable mentions, but I'm just going with the ones that came to mind because these are ones that I like to watch regularly.
What's your number 4?
Well, it's another funny one. It's Zombieland. Zombieland was another one of those, like, where it has the rules on there. I liked... It was very refreshing when it came out.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it was like the zombie movie version of Scream, what Scream did for slasher movies, pretty much is what it kind of felt like. But Scream and Scary Movie kind of did to Scream.
Yes.
But Zombieland's way more of just a comedy than a horror, but Scream is definitely... like you said, it talked about the rules in there.
Yeah, it has the rules in there. It's different. And, like, after 800 fucking Resident Evil movies, like, when Zombieland was, like, coming out, it was, like, very fucking refreshing compared to some of the other zombie movies that were really popular at the time. And then, obviously, it's got one of the fucking greatest cameos ever. Bill Murray in that, and somehow that did not fucking leak. When I saw that in theaters, man, like, my mind was fucking blown when Bill Murray shows up in that. I'm like, holy fuck, how do we not know about this?
I'm pretty sure you, me, and Tony had all just, like, coincidentally wanted to see it, and I worked at the theater, so I went and got us in free at, like, a late showing the night it came out.
Yeah, that was badass, man.
And then it was like, fuck yeah, man. That shit ruled.
What's your number 4?
My number 4, 2002. Directed by Danny Boyle. Starring Cillian Murphy as 28 Days Later. This is a very interesting movie. It has a variant on, the fact that it's more of like a mad cow disease type shit. I think they even reference that. Or like rabies or something.
Yeah.
This makes me think of the David Cronenberg movie Rabid, which if you haven't seen, you should. Almost made my list, but I didn't. But 28 Days Later, it's pretty fucking good. And it was shot on like a handheld cam, and it has that really lo-fi feel. It looks bizarre because it's like when people were first getting handheld digital cameras, so it's not high quality,
Yes.
Has a very certain look to it, so... Yeah, that's my number 4. I like that movie.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that as your number 4 because that's my number 3.
That's funny.
Man, when I first saw that movie again, right? You know, I think I saw that like right after high school or right, you know, whenever it came out, and it was like, hell yeah, that was a good zombie movie. Because again, like with some of the Resident Evil stuff, you're like, oh, this has the potential to be really cool, and then when they fucked up the Resident Evil story and then like decided to make 800 sequels with it, right? Which are kind of fun on their own in their own right, but to me it was like, man, 28 Days Later felt so much more like a Resident Evil movie than, at least in some of the sequences and like the way it kind of starts out and opens up and you know, kind of how you understand it. That felt more accurate than some of the other stuff. And then there's some like truly frightening moments, like the handheld cam really works out for some of the better scares and the creepy vibe, because it really adds to like, fuck, you know, like this is how you might see that, or like how you might see some found footage or something like that. But I'm glad it wasn't completely shot like it was found footage, right? You know, the camera's pretty stable, but you know, just a low budget movie for that reason. So
yeah, I researched it a little bit when I was getting into filmmaking at first. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely love that movie. The sequel is not quite as great, but it's still good. And then I was really hoping they do 28 Months Later.
I do have the big ass poster for 28 Weeks Later.
Oh
still.
Yeah, I remember that. That thing's fucking huge.
Yeah, I still got that in the garage. It's in pretty damn good condition still. Hanging up at the new place.
Nice. What's number 3?
Number 3, going pretty fucking classic here for what may be somebody's number 1, what may be arguably the number 1, depending on how you look at it. Dawn of the Dead from 1978.
Okay.
This, it's fucking incredible. What can I say? I love Tom Savini showing up in there.
Basically playing the same character he plays in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, fucking shit rules.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what can I say? That's just a fucking classic. It's one of the fucking gold standards for zombie movies. Yeah, it's my number 3.
All right. My number 2.
What's your number 2?
Dawn of the Dead. No, I'm kidding. It's Night of the Living Dead. The 1968 black and white version. To me, there's just something so suspenseful about that. Like it's fun, right? And I'm not a huge fan of black and white movies, but it's low budget for that reason. And it was kind of like a fresh take on that whole thing at the time, and like getting stuck in that house and like trapping it up. Like, man, like that. It has so many vibes to like the original Psycho and some of the Hitchcock stuff in the regards, like it's spooky black and white stuff, and it really just sticks with you. And you know, they've remade that a number of times, but to me, you're not going to beat the original. Like the original just is still great. It still holds up. I think I got that for $1 at a Walmart bargain bin when I lived in Phoenix.
Slick.
What's your number 2?
Number 2, 1985's Day of the Dead. I like Day of the Dead a little bit more than Dawn of the Dead. And it's mainly because this movie has like this thing where Dawn of the Dead doesn't quite have it, where it feels like it's more modern, and given it is 7 years newer.
Yeah.
But it has this feel where there's like more realism, even more realism to the characters and the writing. And some of the crazy fucking, I mean, there's some over-the-top motherfuckers in there too, don't get me wrong. But like the aspects of the military being against the civilians that are also living with them or whatever in the underground basement, basically, the bunker, whatever the fuck that thing is they're living in. It's pretty dope. But, yeah, that's a sick fucking movie, and I love the music. The music is a huge inspiration on anything music for movies that I've done, so.
Okay, I feel that. I enjoy that one, but it's not, you know, one of my favorites, so.
Yeah, I love it. It introduced the concept, which a lot of zombie movies later on would do, which is that zombies could become sentient, you know? and they fuck around with that, which I had never liked that concept until I watched this movie, and I was like, all right, this is dope. They actually did this well. Because I like how the fucking zombie comes at him with the fucking gun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some standout moments in there.
Which he later did in Land of the Dead, too. You know, the zombies have guns in that.
Land of the Dead, that had John Leguizamo, correct? Yeah,
hell
that's
yeah.
a good one. I do enjoy that one. That was an honorable mention, but not quite as...
Fucking had Dennis Hopper in there, too.
No,
that was crazy.
That one's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's another honorable mention. I agree. Yeah, it's like... I definitely have that one, because I like it for what it is. But it's not in the top tier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's... I don't...
Do you give me your number one? What's your number one?
Number one is the original Dawn of the Dead, but the director's cut. Fucking love that movie. It's so good. In the mall, some of the stuff that's in the director's cut, it's just a little bit longer. There's some more pacing on there. You know, like the pacing's pretty good, even for it being like a longer cut of the movie.
Yeah.
And to me, like that was one of the first zombie movies I ever got into, and that one still just holds up so well. Just because it's a fun zombie movie, right? There's like some terror moments on there, but it's fun. And it's weird that it's a fun movie, and I think most of that's kind of because they're in the shopping mall trying to survive, and you kind of have like some moments of hope, which is, you know, sometimes missing in a zombie movie. So like you see that they have hope that they're going to get through this and things are going to be okay, and you know then it clearly, you know, over a long enough timeline, you know, you feel like you're quoting Fight Club at that. You know, your chances of survival go to zero. So it's like, yeah, okay. So I find that fun because it starts off a little spooky. Then you kind of get into this moment of like, hey, there's a little bit of hope. There's some things to get through. And then it gets fucking all hell breaks loose. And it's just fun seeing them, like some of the, like the montage scene of them, like kind of cleaning up the mall and everything, man. There's just so many moments in that movie that just stick with me. I love it. Good one. What's your number one?
What's missing from my list?
Well,
I'll tell you.
That's
2004's Shaun of the Dead, directed by Edgar Wright. This is my favorite, most watched zombie movie of all time. It's I recognize that it is obviously large in reference to other zombie movies, but it is also its own movie.
Sure.
It introduced the world to pretty much zomcoms, as they call them, which they've done a lot of that are trashy and not as anywhere near as fucking good as this shit. This shit rules. I will stand by it till I die. It's my favorite Edgar Wright film, my favorite Simon Pegg film, favorite zombie movie.
That's a good one. I mean,
I'll
it's
take
on
it
my
with
list
me
for sure.
to my grave. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's top 5. So if you want to jump online, tell us your top 5 zombie movies. See how far off they are from ours. So I think we had pretty good diversity on here between yours and ours. I mean, what do we have overlap with? Shaun of the Dead?
28 Days Later and Dawn of the Dead. So we had 2 that were different.
Yeah, which is pretty decent. So, considering like how similar our taste is and stuff. But again, I think some.
Well, I almost also had, you know, a couple honorable mentions where I almost had the original Night of the Living Dead, as well as the remake, because the remake is fucking excellent also.
And I realized there's an assload of amazing 80s zombie movies that like were probably left off this list that other people might have on there. But again, for me,
Return of the Living Dead ring a bell?
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that one was I originally wrote that on my number 5, but I replaced it with Planet Terror because I know I watch Planet Terror more than that one. But that one is like another one that holds a real special spot.
Oh, yeah. And for me, like, you know, like when we do these lists, I typically go just by like what comes to mind immediately and, you know, avoid that research. And I know that's a very popular one, but like, and I enjoy that movie, but it's just not like in the same category for me as these other ones, just because maybe I haven't seen that one as much. But some of these other ones really like have moments that stand out to me that have just stuck with me. So that's where I came up with my list. But yeah, we don't want to forget that there's pretty good fucking pool of amazing
Also,
stuff out there to choose from.
Brain Dead.
See, I haven't seen that one, but I've heard pretty good stuff
one.
about it. So that's on my list of film exposure items. So,
and it's not quite a zombie movie, but it feels very close to Brain Dead for obvious reasons. But it's bad taste.
Oh, okay.
And when I get up there, we're gonna review that, and we're gonna have Nathan on for it because he's the one who showed it to me. And it's fucked up, and we watched it when we were kids. So
let us know your top 5
write that on the list.
zombie movies.
Oh, it's not quite zombie movie, but the original Crazies, as well as that's another one of those movies where the remake is not too fucking terrible.
Oh yeah, that one actually is pretty decent. But yeah, it's that kind of same concept of.
It's not quite zombies because they're not flesh-eating zombies, and that's kind of what I went with this list.
Yeah, and there's that whole kind of thing of like, is it like a host and parasite or is it a zombie? All right, so there's a whole slew of movies that are similar in vibe that don't quite fall into the zombie category for me, right? I mean, we could do top 5 Parasite movies because there's a lot of awesome shit out there that would kind of have the same concept, right? So, I mean, that's a list for another day.
The remake of Dawn of the Dead is pretty decent. I actually watched it like a week ago. It's it's not as good as the original, obviously, but it, for what it was, for coming up with an original story but keeping the same concept of just people in a mall during a zombie apocalypse, they did okay. And James Gunn wrote that movie, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, see, that one's fun to me. There's a few things in there that you could tell were just like gross out moments, like the baby zombie or whatever. Like,
see, I really like that because it reminds me of those fucked up 80s B movie zombies with all the really weird shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
but I agree, it's definitely gross.
Yeah, I know, like that whole thing is like probably the grossest thing of that movie, which it's a fine line, right? Between like horror and gore and stuff. Like, I would rather be afraid. Like, I like a good scare, right? Like something that like gives you chills and stuff like that. Like, gore is okay, but I prefer like a good scare over the gore. But I mean, obviously I watch all of it, so but just kind of interesting to me. And then obviously gratuitous gore can be hilarious as well. So you're like, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's like Planet Terror.
Yes, that's so fucking over the top. You're like, you have to laugh at how absurd some of this shit is, but at the same time, like there's like some good spooky moments in there as well. So.
Oh hell yeah!
All right, so.
We now return to the real Ghostbusters.
Diane, 11:30 a.m., February 24th. Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
Pretty good.
Bill Murray's the funniest man on the planet.
Episode by episode.
We now return to the real Ghostbusters.
This is the climax.
Episode by episode.
Extreme Ghostbusters, episode 16. Dry Spell.
Dry Spell.
When if you're just going by the title, you're like, oh, this is kind of be like when they became Crime Busters and Real Ghostbusters.
Oh, really? Because it reminded me of Ben Shapiro.
You're an asshole.
Yeah, I was thinking of him and his DAP.
Yeah.
So
the Dry Spell. I was like, oh, Crime Busters type episode. But no, It's not. And that's fine because doing something different. I'm glad that like it doesn't they didn't always just try to parallel the Real Ghostbusters in certain areas.
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to see them bring Sam Hain back at some point. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would like to see the Boogeyman and everybody else back, that the most iconic ghost, but also at least they just left him preserved and didn't fucking ruin him or anything. So there's that too.
Yeah, whatever. That's true. And in the episodes they kind of do like the Grundle and I think.
Yeah, that one's sick. That one's one of the best episodes.
Yeah, and I think the next episode is about a banshee. So clearly there's a banshee episode on Real Ghostbusters, but yeah. But this one's Dry Spell. It starts out with one of those weird openings where they've got like some dialogue, and it seemed like this was, as I recall, maybe having watched this on VHS tape, it seems like this would be something they'd play you know, like during the credits or the commercial credits to the last show that was on before in the prior time slot.
Yeah.
And then when the show started, you'd start inside the actual opening dialogue where you kind of see this boat, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got this boat going, and then you see like there's this submarine, and they're like searching for something, and it's kind of an interesting opening, right? I did enjoy the opening piece there, and it kind of shows like, you know, they're searching around and water's kind of thrashing, and they're like, hey, don't go searching there. And then, you know, anytime someone tells you not to do something, you fucking go and do it and start fucking shit up. So she comes up to the shore, and they pull her back, or not the shore, but she comes back up, but they pull the sub out of the water, put it in the ship, and the ship's captain comes out and realizes that she looks like a mummy because she's all dried out. And then you get the classic Butthole Rock theme song. Woo-hoo!
Yep. Exactly.
And then we get into the real episode.
So, I didn't write a whole lot of notes on this one. This is another one it's in and out. There are some funny moments. How does it open up with them in the firehouse again?
Yeah, it opens up, and the opening was kind of one of the funnier things in this episode because Eduardo's writing a paper, and you see Kylie sitting there reading, and basically they accuse him of plagiarizing. He's like, plagiarizing is copying out of one book. He's like, writing a paper is copying out of several books or some shit, and you're like, that's a pretty good fucking point. And then Roland tries to guilt him, and like,
he's not wrong.
Roland tries to guilt him. He's like, you know, the joy of getting a college education is the learning part. And you're just like, I mean, there's people that would probably disagree with some of that. Like, yeah, I mean, everyone loves to learn when it's something you want to learn about. But there are some things that you may not want to learn about that are less than exciting. So I get what they're trying to do with that, which I kind of got a kick out of.
Yeah, I get that. I like Eduardo's line when they're heading out, when they're in the Ecto, and he's like, maybe Shamu is possessed. That was made me giggle. If I was a kid, I would have, probably giggled too.
Yeah, because Shamu is just such a household name, or that Shamu is like the name they use for like whatever performing whale at fucking SeaWorld, but that's a whole other thing you don't realize as a kid now, and you're like, SeaWorld.
Yeah. More like Abuse World.
Uh-huh.
So, there's a fucking TV parody of Jacques Cousteau in this.
Yes.
What's his name in this? It was too close to Jacques Cousteau. It's clearly a reference to it, so I just wrote down
it's
Jacques
Mr.
Cousteau.
Russo, yeah.
Something Russo.
So anyway, they basically admit that they find the lost city of Krovos, I think is what they called it. Tugboat found the boat, brought the boat back, but realized like everyone on board was mummified or dehydrated. I don't know what you want to say. How you want to call that?
Dead. Not really dead, because it's a children's show.
Yeah, and that's one thing on this. Well, I guess the real Ghostbusters did that sometimes, but it seems like it's very frequent on Extreme. Is like, once they catch the ghost, everything just reverts back to how it was.
Well, yeah, they have a lot of catastrophes in the show where a bunch of people are affected by something and transform or are fucked up somehow, and then they capture the ghost, and everybody's like, all of a sudden, they're playing that music.
Yeah, the theme music, yeah.
And everybody's going back to normal and shit.
Like always comes on when they do that. You're like, it's so predictable. But when you think about the intended audience for this, like, it still does its job, so.
Well, yeah, this is also a series that was produced all at once.
Yes.
Can you imagine having to be like, all right, we got to come up with plots for 42 episodes?
Yes.
Some of those plots are going to be fucking the same shit over and over. And it's inescapable. So that's just, I fault that to the production of the show, because some of the episodes are fucking wonderful. This is another one that we can put in the books as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but, I mean, even though they're trying to, they're trying to do cool stuff by having like the Jacques Cousteau, like, hey, like here's what we're gonna do with this piece, and
yeah, and I like that there's water elements to this episode. Like that's,
yeah, there's some stuff that's a little different on it, yeah, which is fun. But I do like how Russo like appeals to Eddie after they're out there, and he's like, don't you want to be a respected scientist? And so, he kind of gets in with Eddie because he kind of realizes like he's the one that's looking for some notoriety there. So,
yeah,
and then Eddie, being the lovable idiot that he is, basically takes him downstairs to the containment unit, thinking he's like just showing him because this guy's generally actually curious and wants to learn, and doesn't realize he's getting scammed. And then he steals that ghost trap, and then all hell breaks loose. So it was interesting, though, like some of the concept of like in the sewer system, which they didn't escalate this episode as much as I thought they would, because like Egon basically says, oh yeah, we're lucky that thing didn't get in the city water supply, because that would have been a fucking disaster. And it happens, but it's not the disaster at the level they're saying. But they're also like, hey, it's just in the Lower East Side right now, so.
Right.
Which I guess Janosch didn't get turned because they weren't in the Upper West Side. They're in the Lower East Side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did like...
Listen, I gotta go. I got lunch in 15 minutes with T. Boone Pickens.
Yep. I do like how Slimer was trying to like explain to Eddie that like this dude stole the ghost trap, and Eddie's like, I don't speak ghost. What the hell? So,
right.
And then, they do have a little bit of character development there. Like Eddie does try to redeem himself since he kind of fucked this up. He jumps in the water towards the end of the episode and kind of does that piece where he's complaining about the water being cold, and then Russo kind of comes in there and fucks shit up and has the proton pack, and like, Kyle's like, you want him, you got him. And then, he gets dehydrated himself too, so kind of like, gets his lesson proven to him, so.
Taking the
Says,
town.
you broke the rules. Eddie tells him that, he's kind of condescending, which, when Eddie can be the smart, heroic guy, he likes that. And then, of course, at the end, they're like, should we have a group hug? Garrett says that after everything, and then, like, it just abruptly ends. That's the thing about this show is, like, once they get to the resolution, they're just like, fuck it, we're done. And they don't really fucking waste any time after that, which is good and bad, right? As a kid, you're like, yeah, like, we're done. Like, I got everything out of the episode I needed to see. But I feel a lot of shows, like, have a little bit more on the tail end kind of to wrap things up before, and this show's just like, fuck it. When we're done, we're done.
Yeah, sometimes cartoons are fucking like that, especially those old, like, any show that was built on, like, a vignette style. A lot of 90s shows were still like that, like the cartoons were still done like the Hanna-Barbera, like, 7-minute vignette style, you know? So you get 3 little 7-minute stories where, like, they wrap up in, like, fucking 10 seconds and shit.
Yep. Yeah, so this is it's an interesting episode. It's not terrible, but yeah, it's just one of those that doesn't stick with you. Like when I watched this episode, I wasn't like, oh fuck, I love this episode. It was like, yeah, I kind of remember this one. Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah, same. So overall, it's good to watch if you're watching the whole series. You know, if you've never watched it for sure. I have seen this episode at least 4 or 5 times in my adult life now, so... you know, if I ever decide to rewatch the whole series, I'll watch it with it, of course. But I'm never going to be, like, picking it out and be like, I have to watch this one.
Yeah, if I was going to go through and pick and choose, yeah, that'd be completely different, right? You know, there's always going to be... Any series, you're going to have episodes that you want to go back and watch, even if you don't care to watch the whole series around it. So... Another man's garbage is another man's gold. Leave all the nostalgia horse, just wait till you get old. Another man's garbage is another man's treasure. I know that you will hate it, and that fact gives me pleasure. Another man's garbage. So back in the month of May, I ordered a DVD. And it never showed up. And And eventually I actually got refunded by the seller just because I assumed it was lost in the mail or never actually got shipped because there's no tracking. And you might ask why this story is fucking relevant or even worth me telling, but I will tell you because the movie we reviewed is the movie that finally showed up after about 3 months in transit. So, that movie would be a Paul Fusco movie. And if you're not familiar with Paul Fusco, you should probably go watch the entire series of Alf and then come back to this episode after you've concluded that. Because this movie picks up where that series ended. And we're talking about the 1996 smash comedy hit, made-for-TV movie, Project Alf. Pretty.
Or known in Germany as Alf der Film.
Yeah. We should start doing the German titles of movies.
That's funny. No, it was literally in the commentary because this is actually released in theaters in Germany.
Oh, no shit.
But that's the only place. Because Germany's big on Alf.
God damn. We missed out in the 90s.
And David Hasselhoff.
I think I recall watching this at our aunt and uncle's house in Omaha, or Bennington, Nebraska. I feel like we watched this with a group of people, and it came out when it was on TV because I feel like it was a big deal, and like everybody liked Alf. So they're like, "Hey, we're watching Alf tonight," and you're like, "Okay, sounds good to me."
Fuck yeah! I am fucking down. Yeah, I got this. I bought this right around the same time you did, but I got it a lot quicker. I got it in like fucking 3 weeks or something from Canada.
Yeah, I think mine came from France or something. France, we come from France.
I was about to say, France, we come from France. Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
So,
we come from France? You really are a legitimate phenomenon.
So you got Michael. Who the fuck is Michael? Martin Sheen and Miguel Ferrer are in this. Yeah. Which are two pretty fucking... I mean, Martin Sheen's a lot more high profile than Miguel Ferrer in terms of like...
Yeah, but Miguel was on... He was on one of those
Now.
criminal type TV shows, so forever. So people would recognize him probably pretty quick.
Yeah, but he's also in epic shit like RoboCop, Twin Peaks, shit that I really like.
Yeah, and
so
the
fact that he's in this...
Yeah, he's
epic.
actually pretty good in it too, right? You know, there's a few people that give like some sincere acting roles, and excuse me while I stutter like a dumbass.
That's okay. We all do that because we're, well, at least speaking for myself, I'm high. So there's like this weird inner monologue happening.
Well, everyone has an inner monologue.
I need to put some. I'm gonna put some piano music here, and then, as I thought to myself. As I spoke aloud.
I'm not high. I'm just all amped up on my Royal Crown Cola. Brought to you by the Pepsi... No, just kidding. Not Pepsi. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper and 7-Up. You know what else is delicious, though?
I do actually have Pepsi written
I know, I have
here.
that, too. That's actually a good segue. But I like cherry 7-Up. That's the bomb. But no, they have the reference to the taste test when they're doing experiments on Alf. And that fucking cracked me up. It's like the Pepsi...
Yeah. This one's definitely the Pepsi.
This one's definitely the Pepsi, yeah. I like how.
So, yeah, that's the beginning of this movie when they kind of... Before they go into the videos, which is my favorite part, they kind of frame it with the whole military thing. Alf's been captured by the military. And he's been held there for a couple of years. And they're talking about what to do with him these days, basically. And Martin Sheen's like, let's fuck him up. He's an asshole. I hate him. Basically. And then there's two people that are kind of like, no, he's not that bad. We gotta like keep him around.
Yeah, and
you kind of find out that
what?
Yeah,
I was gonna say Martin Sheen's like backstory is that like, you know, his mom like didn't like aliens or had a bad alien encounter or some shit. They kind of imply so like all aliens gotta die, which sounds like a lot of shit I read from fucking stupid people on Facebook these days. Like, oh. You don't believe in my opinion, you're wrong. And you're like, whoa, slow down there, little horsey.
Whoa. So they go into some of these videos of, like, test videos of Alf being interviewed and tests being done on him. And this is, in my opinion, the funniest part of the movie.
Oh, that shit could have gone on, man. Like, that was amazing.
Right.
You notice somebody from...
It's actually a fairly long scene.
Notice anybody that was an answer the call in there?
In that?
It's the doctor that leaves his marks on the floor.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't have to say answer the call. I know that Ed Bigley is, I believe, that guy's name, and he's in a bunch of shit. I know him mostly from, like, Arrested Development and a bunch of TV shows he's in. But yeah, he's in Answer the Call as well.
We just talk a lot of Ghostbusters, so I figured I'd close that circle.
Yeah, hell yeah. He was the first guy in there that died.
Yeah, and I like how Alf keeps warning everybody about him. He's like, "Did you hear about the electric shock?"
Yeah.
And the wordplay stuff, that was so funny. That was good stuff in there.
Fuck yeah. I love how the last guy gives him that fucking murderous look and then ends up throwing him back on the fucking spinning shit again.
Or whatever they call it on there. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just a
He's
G-force
fucking
testing.
Giving the woman shit about being gay.
Oh, yeah.
And
He's
shit.
like, "Oh, what's your
Just
thoughts
to, like,
on the
fucking
don't
upset
ask,
her.
don't tell policy?" And he's like, "Because I think it applies to you." And you're like, Jesus. Like, there's some, like, good stuff in there. Like,
Yeah.
and some controversial stuff nowadays, but just for, like, a 1996 made for...
Well, I don't think that's...
No, and it's not terribly controversial.
That could be construed as negative for sure, but I don't take that one offensively.
No,
so.
but just speaking out there to a broad audience of, like, what people are comfortable with in 2020. Oh, there's also a fucking Rosetta Stone joke in there. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't even know Rosetta Stone was around back then. You know, but before it was all like their software, that must have been like books and CDs and shit.
Yeah, I bet. Alf ends up being kind of running this place, which all that shit's pretty funny too, how he's like kind of running a gambling den and shit. Doing all sorts of bizarre shit in there and getting all his food delivered. He has a fucking bed and like a room and shit.
Yeah, and he has like hours for his being the bookie and stuff, and like people owing him money and shit. Yeah, it was pretty funny. You're like, yeah, I could see Alf being locked up for a while. That alone would have been worth a sequel series, like his day-to-day shenanigans in there. Like, come on, man, like let's do this. Let's do another Alf series here before Paul Fusco gets too old for it. Like, let's fucking bang this shit out. Let's get it going.
Yeah, hire us. We'll write it. We'll co-write it with Paul Fusco.
Hell yeah.
And all that shit. We're down. So, there's a motel in this movie that some of you may recognize if you're knowledgeable on film locations at all. But I recognized it because it's fucking called the Pink Motel. But this motel is in a lot of movies and TV shows. I wrote down just a few things that I thought were noteworthy. I actually tried to stay here once with one of my exes when I went to L.A., but she wasn't into it because it was a motel, but I was like, it's the Pink Motel, though. But it's a motel. Apparently it's in Project Alf, which I never knew. But it was in Drive, if you've ever seen that. It was in the Incredible Hulk TV show, MacGyver. And it was also, recently, almost the entire movie was shot there for I'm Just Fucking With You, which is a Hulu exclusive movie. Which is kind of funny because that movie, I worked with one of the guys from it briefly when I was on that one season lasting Sun Records on CMT like 4 years ago. But I met the guy that was the main character in that movie, so that's pretty cool.
For those that aren't aware, Alec was an extra on some of those shows. And were you technically a featured extra once or twice?
I was, I don't know. It's hard to say, but not really. The coolest thing I did was I was a stand-in twice. I was a stand-in for Pokey Lafarge, which is a like folk singer who's on Jack White's record label. But I think he was playing Hank Williams or something. I don't fucking honestly have any clue who he was playing at this point. I forgot. Maybe Hank Snow. I don't even fucking know, man. I really have no idea. But I was also the stand-in for the oldest kid from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, really?
What's his name? Yeah, I don't know. It's not on the back of the VHS here. But he's on the cover of the VHS, but he's the older of the, not the Zelensky kids, but the next door neighbors. He's the older brother in the first one. But he was like a gangster in that, and I was his stand-in for a little bit, so that was fun. I got to talk to him. I didn't realize who he was till after, but I was like, man, I feel like I know who this guy is. But you never know if it's just like a new actor or if it's somebody who just does a lot of TV roles or what.
Yeah,
so
and it's probably good that you're just...
Later on, because I had a copy of the script, I looked it up and was like, oh, hey.
That's pretty awesome, though. That's fun that you've been able to do some of that stuff and have those stories.
The assistant director for all the episodes of that series was a guy, I can't remember his name. It's probably better that I don't mention him by name anyway, because of what I'm about to say, but he was a total fucking asshole. He would fucking just lose his shit at extras all day long. And I later looked him up on IMDb, and he had he worked on Mallrats.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess you earned a couple points, but you're still a shithead. I don't know. Maybe he just had to stick up his ass for all the days I was on set.
Yeah, you never know.
He never really did anything to me directly, but I was just like, man, that guy's a dick. But the actual director of that series was Roland Joffe, and he pretty much ghost-directed the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, interesting shit. Full circle, John Leguizamo was in that.
Hells yeah.
And I actually saw him at a motel once.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Hotel.
That's funny.
Me and Mom did. That's funny. She was like, who's that guy? I was like, I have no fucking clue. And then I turned around and was like, holy shit, that's John Leguizamo.
Yep, so back to Alf. So, when you watch the Alf TV series, you don't ever think Alf's going to be at a strip club. Yet here we are on Project Alf, and he's at a strip club.
Hell yeah, he is. He's looking to get some fucking cat to eat.
Yeah, he thought it was a cat restaurant, and like that was another funny sequence because the server in there is like really fucking disgusted by him, and then realizes he's an alien. So
yeah. Yeah, this movie, the first time you watch it, the two military people that he's with are really annoying, I feel like. They grow on you if you watch it more, I feel like.
Yeah, but I kind of remember them from the TV show and like not liking them, but like watching this, I didn't mind them as much, you know, because they're Mulligan and Hill. And Mulligan's kind of funny because he does a decent Alf impersonation, which I think is like half the reason why they fucking cast him, because they needed someone that could impersonate Paul Fusco's Alf. Which is funny because, you know, he like fills in for him a lot, you know, and like when they're hiding from people in the hotel and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's a fun movie, definitely. It just, it doesn't give you a lot of closure for the series. You know, I think they originally were hoping to do more with it after that, so they don't think they wanted to close the door on it.
I definitely think that's what they were trying to do, is lure... After they made this movie, they were like, all right, hopefully somebody else will want to do some more Alf.
Yeah.
And eventually they did some Alf talk show that was on E! For a while.
Yeah, he was a talk show host, which has got to be pretty good too, but...
Which it's like, yeah, give me that on fucking DVD, please.
Oh.
Anything that Alf has done, I want on DVD, man. Just give it to me. Give it to me. I need.
They have a Neverland Ranch joke in the episode too, which is funny.
Oh god!
And it's hard for me to ever like call it the Neverland Ranch because Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 for the longest time called his home studio the Never Pants Ranch, and it was just like Jesus, oh man. So I always want to call it the Never Pants Ranch just because like the whole darkness there.
Yeah. Joke about all the childhood trauma.
Laughter. Haven't you ever heard of the healing power of laughter? Oh, and the Carl Sagan joke. He's like, I don't like Carl Sagan. And they're like, why? He's like,
right.
Because he calls it Uranus. He's like, what are you supposed to call it? Uranus.
Yeah.
And then he's eating the bugs as they drive. And then I love it when he's talking to, what's that other guy's name at the end? I forget.
An actual character? I don't know.
Yeah, Moyer's character, whatever.
Who?
Sorry, I can't even read my own fucking handwriting here. I was scribbling some notes down when I watched this.
Martin Sheen or Miguel Ferrer, one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, so his character at the end, which is funny, because he asks him, like, when he meets him, he's like, hey, what's the 9th planet from the sun? He's like, Uranus, and he's like, ha! That's beautiful. Yeah. That's funny. Like, you're not expecting fucking Carl Sagan jokes in Alf movie. Like, there's some good stuff in there. There really is. Like, you could see, like, the potential. Like, oh, man, could you imagine an R-rated Alf?
God.
Like, I'd imagine it'd be really funny.
Pretty much. Alf would be smoking weed and shit. Drinking beer more.
Oh, yeah, and then Alf's coming on to the assistant there, too, which is funny. He's like, why don't you vacuum my
hilarious.
lap? That was like, there's such like random obscure shit in here that it's funny. But then like the overall plot point is that...
Yeah, why don't you vacuum my lap? I'm going to start saying that now.
You know, it's a fun story. I mean, it kind of gets you to the point of, you know, getting through everything where we're... You know, you realize there's just villain like, oh yeah, I'll help, and he's, you know, calling her by her middle name, you know, Commander Hill or whatever her name is, and it's kind of fun, you know, because he comes across as like genuine at first, then you realize like, oh, he doesn't have the money you thought he did, and, you know, he's kind of like needing that notoriety, so,
yeah,
it's kind of a good villain.
I was like, wait. Am I watching the ending of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom right now? Are they trying to sell Alf? There's be a meme of Alf in the cage at the end of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom instead of the...
Indoraptor. Jesus, that'd have been so much better. That would have been a fucking amazing movie. Can we make that happen? Hey, anybody out there?
$10 million!
If you're an amateur and you're working on, like, your digital design for, you know, your college degree or something, and you're listening to this right now, do us a favor. Just take a clip from Fallen Kingdom and put Alf in there instead of the Indoraptor. Just fucking make a life dream come true for us.
Now I think I'm just gonna make I think I might have to do this. Make a cut of Jurassic Park and just call it Jurassic Alf. And replace all the T-Rex scenes basically and all the dinosaurs with Alf. But completely replace it with, like, Alf talking and doing shit.
Instead of the dinosaur roar?
But just, like, throw him in... Yeah, so throw him into the jungle. I can find a clip of Alf sleeping to have Alan Grant lean over and lean on. Listen to his heart, his breath. I'm going to do it. Jurassic
I didn't have
Alf.
a lot of other notes on that movie. But if
Jurassic
you like Alf, I would highly recommend getting yourself a copy of this movie so you can watch it.
It's so choice.
It's fun, man. There's some good jokes in there.
Yeah, it's darker. It's different because it doesn't have the laugh track of the sitcom, like the sitcom does. So the Tanners aren't in it. They're briefly mentioned at the beginning just so you kind of know it's...
In continuity with it, yeah.
They're not just forgetting about him.
I do like how they're like, yeah, he testified against you that you set over 300 fires in his house. And then they corrected me. He's like, well, it was only 287.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, yeah. I mean, I do feel like you missed the Tanners, but at the same time, like, Alf is an all-encompassing character, so him being out in the world doing his own thing totally makes sense. So, yeah, it still holds up very well on its own.
Yeah. Alf, to me...
Mother to you.
I wish in all forms it could... Alf to me, and mother to you.
RC Cola has a real eye-opener for you. You could win one of 100 1989 Mazda V2200 pickups instantly in the Pickup and RC Sweepstakes. How? Just enjoy a refreshing can of RC Cola. Then look, peer, peek, squint, stare, or scan the bottom of your RC Cola can to see if you've won. Any way you look at it, there's 100 chances to win. So truck on over to your favorite store. Come on, say yes to the winning taste of RC. You could win a Mazda pickup instantly.
Nice. Oh, so speaking of NECA,
first time seeing one of
NECA,
those.
because NECA would be a great company to make an Alf action figure, even though in Project Alf the movie, Alf makes a joke about merchandising and that it can only be a plush doll because he doesn't render well in vinyl.
Yeah, I love
oh,
that.
Goddamn, I love how like in jokes they are with marketing and everything like that. You know, and that's just after the Alf phenomenon that happened in the 80s, so it's beautiful.
Well, yeah, because you also had the Alf, the animated series, and Alf Tales, which was the other animated series where they reenacted all the like fairy tales as with Alf characters and shit. So there's like 2 animated series, which I need to get some of the Happy Meal toys for. They have some like Wendy's Alf toys. Like there's a fucking Alf as Red Riding Hood and shit.
I mean, you may as well make it happen. But after you get that Spangler one.
Yeah, I need to get focus on that Spangler one.
Yep. I need to make it happen. So that's pretty much what we got for this episode. So what else do you got? You got anything you want to wind down with, kid?
Not necessarily. When was the last time you watched Bride of Chucky?
Bride of Chucky? Probably when it fucking came out.
Mm-hmm.
Or came out on DVD. Yeah, I think I saw it when it came out on DVD. So it's been a long time.
We're going to have to do some like special double features and a variety of things for September and October. I think we need to watch that one. I watched it recently and it's fucking epic.
Yeah, I'm down to check it out.
I'm a big fan.
I'm down to check it out.
So that's pretty much on my thoughts. I'm still trying to get ready to move here, trying to pay off my car, save up. I've been packing a lot. I pretty much got everything resorted and gone through. I got like 6 tubs of Ghostbusters shit. And like 3 or 4 of those are just toys.
Hell yeah. So I got to bust out.
So I'm pretty...
So speaking of Ghostbusters, I got to bust out my old Ghostbuster sleeping bag I had as a kid. Because my kids were over, stayed the night on Friday, and my oldest asked, well, he's bringing a sleeping bag. He's like, just in case he needed it. He's very thoughtful. And I was like, no, I got an extra one in case we need it. And I was like, actually, I got 2. I was like, I got an old Ghostbusters one. And he's like, oh, can I see that? And so he wanted that, and I washed it, and he used it because he liked it. And he asked for a jumpsuit, so I had to go get him a jumpsuit from Spirit on Sunday. So he's got that waiting for next time I have him over here. Which will be pretty badass.
I did drive past Spirit today to see if it was open again, but it was not open.
Nice.
But that's okay. I want to get that Beetlejuice sign, I think.
Oh, yeah, that looks pretty good, man. Like, they've got some good Beetlejuice stuff this year. Like, it doesn't seem like they'd had as much in past years. It seems like Beetlejuice is kind of a... Is it an anniversary year for Beetlejuice?
It's in. No. It came out in 80, what, 89?
89? No,
88?
Batman was 89. Did that come out the same year?
I want to say it's 88. Okay. Let's fact check me. Live at the end of the podcast.
Fact checking. Brought to you by the internet.
1988.
1,988.
Damn, I'm good.
That's the movie Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Man, I'm tired of being right. The only thing bad about Beetlejuice is the fact that Beetlejuice is only in it for 19 minutes.
Yes.
But even the other rest of the movie's still great. So
it still
good
carries
shit.
a good story in there, right? So
I would like to get the complete series of the cartoon series. I would like to get that though.
Did you watch that a lot growing up?
I don't know if it's available. I watched it a fair amount. It's pretty good.
Yeah, there's some, there's episodes that are better than others. Like for me, that's one that like I've never been like, oh, you know what, I really want to go back and rewatch is that. But there's definitely some episodes I'd be like, yeah, I could do that. But on that note, I have watched a lot of real Ghostbusters episodes because somebody has been asking to watch them. So what am I supposed to say? No. We watched Venkman's Ghost Repellers, which is badass. That's a good episode. We watched Halloween 2.5.
Have you showed him? All right.
And then,
has he watched Revenge of Murray the Mantis?
Not yet. We haven't watched that one yet.
I think those ones are.
Oh yeah,
good.
They're definitely.
I bet you haven't watched The Boogeyman yet.
No, Nate isn't as much of a fan yet. So I mean, he's watching from the other room and he's kind of getting closer. And sometimes he just wants to play or whatever. So kind of take it easy on that. But the funny thing is, like,
right, because that's pretty scary.
I'm not going to push this on my kids, right? And like, they're just asking on their own for this stuff. So I'm like, cool, all right. Because I feel like if you push stuff on somebody, they might like it for a little while, just because like they know you like it. But it's like, nah, we'll kind of do our thing here. So it's pretty awesome that he's enjoying it though. We were catching ghosts, and then Pete took my spirit proton pack out of my room and put it in his room, which I thought was hilarious. And then they were trying to play with it, so his brother went and tried to get my full-sized pack, and obviously couldn't move it because it's 27 pounds, weighs more than he does. So I went and cracked open the Answer the Call proton pack from Mattel that I had, and they had fun playing with that. But they also have some old Kenner blasters and stuff, so it makes me want to get more of the old Kenner role-playing toys so they can play with them. But I gotta say, the new Hasbro stuff, man, I'm stoked to get that for them. That'll be fun to have them have their own line of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I know there's gonna be a lot of adults that collect that, but like, to me, just like seeing the joys of them playing that and like being creative with it, that's gonna be so fucking cool.
Yeah, agreed. It's awesome that those are coming out. Can't wait to get my hands on them, so can't imagine how a kid's going to feel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Oh, and I showed him the trailer for Afterlife, too. And he was asking about it, because he hasn't seen,
nice.
Obviously the movies yet, so kind of figuring that whole piece out, so.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I saw some of that stuff at a real young age, but at the same time, just being mindful of, just trying to be a good dad, I guess, is what I would say.
Well, yeah. You're doing fine, I think. I think at some point it'll be clear when they're ready to watch it. I mean, I think from what you're telling me, Pete will probably tell you, "Hey, can we watch the movie now?" You know what I mean? He'll probably be like, "Well, I want to watch that." Like,
and he's probably ready for it. Like, and even on other stuff he doesn't like, if he doesn't like it or he gets scared of something, he just asks me to fast forward it. So, and I'm fine with that, right? That's easy. Like, that's pretty damn logical, right? And he does that with commercials on stuff too. Like if there's anything like on demand and you're like, sorry dude, can't fast forward to this one. But yeah, man, it's a fun time, man. There's just so much cool stuff going on out there. You got to keep focused on the positive stuff with COVID and all that other crap going on. Like, there's a lot of things that can like be derailing from what's out there, but like, we're all still living our lives. So like, I think there's still a lot of cool shit going on. And my final thought of the week, I guess, is I've got my tickets to see Bill and Ted 3 at a local chain here, the Screenland Armour Theater. Man, if you got local theaters nearby or like any kind of local art houses like that, go out and support them. Like, Screenland made a post today on their Facebook about how like AMC reopened last week, and I think the B&B theaters had reopened again, and they're all talking about how like they all did 10 times as much business as them, and they've been open the entire time and trying to do different things. And so if you have somebody out there that truly loves cinema the way like a local place does, like, that'd be a place that I would hate to lose based on the awesome stuff they're doing out there, right? They're truly passionate about the craft of movies and presenting them to you and making it an experience. And Not to say that the chains aren't, but you know, you're just backing big money at that point, right? You know, these are people that opened a local business and are passionate about it. And that's, I mean, when you think about it, you know, they say small business is what drives America and drives the economy, right? And drives job creation, because if those are successful, they grow. So I would love to see Screenland Armor still be successful out there. So if you have any of those kind of places, support them. I mean, because those are going to be the kind of places that we're really going to miss if they're not around. And that's me on my fucking post giving my speech. So now I'll shut up now and let you close us out.
I'm going to close us out
with a letter from Casey from North Dakota.
No, that was my really awful Casey Kasem. Getting close to the microphone. No, I watched Airheads the other day, and I was literally earlier while I was smoking my blunt, I was trying to figure out, I should think of an Airheads quote to say while I'm talking to the microphone. But I just couldn't think of a good enough one. So here we are. But imagine I said something really clever from another movie where someone's talking to a microphone. Like, okay, I guess you guys aren't ready for that, but your kids are gonna love it. There you go. How's that?
That was a way to redeem yourself. That was fine. You kind of tripped there for a little bit.
No, I was just explaining myself, you know?
I feel that. All right, kids, we'll see you next week. Hope you have an awesome week. Enjoy the show, and we will talk to you soon.
Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
These are my dinner guests, the Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, the Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers.
Shut this off. Shut these all off.